On the northern coast of Borneo sits one of Asia's smallest and least populated countries, Brunei Darussalam. It is easy to miss on a map, appearing as two small pieces of territory along the South China Sea, surrounded almost entirely by the Malaysian state of Sarawak. Yet Brunei is not just a geographical footnote. It is the only fully sovereign state located entirely on the island of Borneo, while the rest of the island is divided between Malaysia and Indonesia. With a population of roughly 466,000 people as of 2025, Brunei is smaller than many global cities. But its political system, oil wealth, long royal history, and unusual position in Southeast Asia make it far more significant than its size suggests. Brunei's geography helps explain both its vulnerability and its identity. The country has a coastline facing the South China Sea, a major maritime zone connecting Southeast Asia with global trade routes. Inland, however, Brunei is enclosed by Sarawak, and its territory is split into two separate parts by the Sarawak district of Limbang. This division is more than a map detail, it reflects the complicated history of borders in northern Borneo. Brunei's capital and largest city, Bandar Seri Begawan, is home to only about 64,000 people, but it functions as the administrative, religious, and symbolic center of the country. In a region of large archipelagic states and powerful neighbors, Brunei's survival as an independent state is remarkable. The country's official name, Brunei Darussalam, is often translated as Brunei, the abode of peace. Its official language is Malay, linking it culturally and historically to the wider Malay world that includes Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, and parts of the southern Philippines. Sunni Islam is the state religion, and Islamic identity is deeply woven into national life, law, ceremonies, and monarchy. Other religions are nominally tolerated, but the state's public character is strongly Islamic. Brunei's legal system combines elements of English common law, inherited from the British period, with Islamic-inspired jurisprudence, including sharia. This fusion reflects the country's layered past, Malay Sultanate, British Protectorate, and modern Islamic monarchy. Long before modern Brunei became a small state, the Sultanate of Brunei was a major maritime power. Its greatest period is associated with Sultan Bolkiah, who ruled from 1485 to 1528. At its height, Brunei is claimed to have controlled much of Borneo, including areas that are now Sarawak and Sabah, as well as the Sulu archipelago and islands off Borneo's northwestern tip. These claims are part history and part royal memory, but they point to a wider truth. Brunei once sat at the center of important trade and political networks. Its influence came not from vast land armies, but from maritime connections, river systems, alliances, tribute, and control of coastal commerce. European contact brought Brunei into the wider history of global exploration and empire. In 1521, survivors of the Magellan expedition visited Brunei after crossing the Pacific, placing the Sultanate in one of the earliest European accounts of Southeast Asia's maritime world. Later, in 1578, Brunei fought Spain in what became known as the Castilian War. Spanish power was expanding from the Philippines, and Brunei was an Islamic sultanate with links across the region. The conflict did not turn Brunei into a Spanish colony, but it showed that the sultanate was part of a larger struggle involving trade, religion, and regional influence. Brunei's early history was never isolated, it was connected to global currents centuries ago. By the 19th century, Brunei's power was fading. Internal weakness, external pressure, and changing colonial realities reduced the old empire into a much smaller state. One of the most dramatic episodes involved James Brooke, a British adventurer who helped the Bruneian Sultan during a local conflict and was rewarded with control over Kuching. Brooke became known as the White Raja of Sarawak, founding a dynasty that ruled territory once linked to Brunei. Brunei also ceded Sabah to the British North Borneo Chartered Company. These concessions stripped away large parts of Brunei's former domain. What had once been a regional maritime power became a vulnerable sultanate surrounded by expanding colonial interests. In 1888, Brunei became a British protectorate. This arrangement meant Brunei retained its monarchy, but Britain controlled major aspects of external affairs and gradually shaped governance. In 1906, a British resident was appointed as colonial manager, giving Britain a direct administrative role. This was not the same as Brunei being fully absorbed as a colony, but it limited the Sultanate's independence. British influence helped preserve Brunei as a separate political unit while also reducing the Sultan's practical authority. Ironically, the protectorate system both constrained and protected Brunei. Without it, the country might have been absorbed into neighboring colonial territories. With it, Brunei's sovereignty was delayed for nearly a century. World War II disrupted British control when Japan occupied Brunei, as it did much of Southeast Asia. After the war, Britain returned, but the political landscape had changed. Across Asia, colonial rule was weakening, nationalist movements were rising, and questions of self-government became unavoidable. In 1959, Brunei received a new constitution, an important step toward internal self-rule while still remaining under British protection. The constitution formalized institutions, but real authority continued to center on the monarchy. Brunei was moving toward modern statehood, yet it was not following the same path as many newly independent countries. Instead of mass electoral democracy, its future would be shaped by royal authority, British security ties, and cautious political management. A major turning point came in 1962, when a small armed rebellion broke out against the monarchy. The uprising was linked indirectly to the wider Indonesia-Malaysia confrontation, a period of regional tension over the formation of Malaysia. British assistance helped suppress the revolt, and the pro-independence Brunei People's Party was banned. The rebellion had lasting consequences. It strengthened the monarchy's suspicion of opposition politics and influenced the Sultan's decision not to join the Malaysian Federation while it was being formed. That choice was historic. Sabah and Sarawak became part of Malaysia, but Brunei remained separate. The events of 1962 helped define Brunei's future as a small, independent monarchy rather than a Malaysian state. Brunei finally became fully sovereign on January 1, 1984, when Britain's protectorate ended. Unlike many new states that emerged through revolutionary struggle or mass independence movements, Brunei's transition was carefully managed and highly controlled. The monarchy remained at the center of political life. Sultan Bolkiah, who had ruled since 1967, became the ruler of an independent Brunei. The country's legislature, the Legislative Council, is unicameral, but it is consultative rather than a fully elected parliament with independent governing power. Its members are appointed by the Sultan. In practice, Brunei is an absolute monarchy, one of the few remaining in the world, where political stability is built around royal authority. The foundation of modern Brunei's wealth is petroleum and natural gas. Hydrocarbon resources transformed the country's economy, especially during the late 20th century. Economic growth in the 1990s and 2000s helped turn Brunei into an industrialized, high-income state, with its gross domestic product increasing significantly between 1999 and 2008. For a country with a small population, oil and gas revenue has had an outsized impact. It allowed the state to avoid many of the fiscal pressures faced by poorer countries and fund extensive public benefits. Brunei's prosperity is visible in its infrastructure, public services, and high GDP per capita, which international financial institutions rank among the strongest in the world by purchasing power parity. Brunei's political stability is closely tied to its welfare state. The House of Bolkiah maintains legitimacy not only through tradition and religion, but also by providing citizens with major benefits. Housing, healthcare, and education are free or heavily subsidized. This social contract is central to understanding the country. Citizens receive security, services, and a high standard of living, while political power remains concentrated in the monarchy. Brunei ranks very high on the Human Development Index, second in Southeast Asia after Singapore. This makes Brunei unusual. It is politically highly centralized, but socially prosperous. Its model depends on continued resource wealth, careful management, and the ability to maintain public confidence in royal rule. Today, Brunei balances small state vulnerability with strategic diplomacy. It is a member of the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, ASEAN, the Commonwealth of Nations, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the Non-Aligned Movement, and the East Asia Summit. These memberships help Brunei amplify its voice and avoid isolation. It also maintains close relations with Singapore, including a currency interchangeability agreement, reflecting trust between two small but wealthy Southeast Asian states. Brunei's biggest long-term challenge is diversification. Oil and gas made the country rich, but reliance on finite resources creates uncertainty. The story of Brunei is therefore not just about a tiny monarchy with great wealth, it is about how history, geography, religion, and resources shaped one of Asia's most distinctive states. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.